can't stop the signal now.
Welcome back to another Rebel Rant, and today we're going to continue the conversation regarding Michael Long, his daughter Sophie Long, and her two brothers. Today I stumbled across an article from the Daily Mail, and as you can see, father wins full custody of his 9-year-old daughter who sparked Stand With Sophie campaign after she accused her mother's fiance of sexual abuse in harrowing viral video. So not only is Mr. Jake Kelly's boyfriend, he's her fiance. Lord, people, folks, this stuff does not happen in a vacuum. It doesn't just manifest itself out of thin air. There is usually history behind it to one degree or another. And as is becoming apparent with every story that comes out, every piece of information I'm able to gather, not just about Sophie, but other situations, as I've been trying to say, this stuff is institutionalized, and it is also generational, where people engage in these things, and as often as not, it is something that it's literally a family thing, as disturbing as that sounds. And our government agencies and whatnot, CPS, even the police, the court systems, all of it has become institutionalized to both hide and protect this abuse. Hopefully this situation is shedding some light on that fact. So let's go ahead and let's get into the article here. Now, I'm going to skip over the more repetitive information here. I've had a couple of videos already that have been quite lengthy, so we're going to try and keep this one a little bit shorter. Now, according to this article, Michael and his new wife, Courtney, well, supposedly this was an exclusive interview with Daily Mail, which, as stated, that would be a little shocking, seeing as how this is taking place in America and Texas. So why Daily Mail would be the only one getting an exclusive interview? At the very minimum, it raises some eyebrows there. Now, they have had to spend their entire life savings on this legal battle, and they had to give up their dream of buying a home. And then Courtney goes on to state, I just don't understand why everybody just keeps throwing them back to the wolves. This is a very telling statement, folks. Very telling. As stated, the stuff does not happen in a vacuum. So it goes on to touch on the videos that have come out of poor Sophie just screaming in horror and terror, refusing to go back to her mother. And this is a bit of information right here that if you watched my previous videos, you know that I actually touched on this. It was unclear if this was a recent situation, a recent development, or if this had been going on for some time. And as I both feared and expected, this has been going on, well, longer than I was hoping it was. Michael will have the 3 children in his care as they wait trial in November, where the lengthy 5-year custody battle between Michael and ex-wife Kelly will finally be resolved. Folks, this is exactly what I was afraid of. This has been going on for 5 years. I believe Sophie just turned 10, so that means since she was 5 years old, only God knows what's been happening to her. I do want to point out something here. Mainstream media and the SJW identity faction that's out there, they love to make accusations and just, if you're a man, especially, throw you to the wolves without any evidence, anything. They have absolutely no compulsion against making those accusations and destroying men's lives. Now, we have the Daily Mail here where they very clearly use the words, over the abuse she has allegedly suffered. Allegedly. There is medical evidence that she was abused. The abuse is not alleged, folks.
You keep using the word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
The abuse has been proven through medical examinations. This is part of the institutionalization of this child abuse. It's everywhere, folks. It's everywhere. And this is just an example of it. The purpose is to hide it, cover it up, make it seem less severe than what it is. And I hate to say it, but they have succeeded. And then we have a statement here from Michael and his wife. They cannot understand why the children were being made to endure an allegedly abusive situation. They can't understand it, folks, because it is very difficult to wrap your mind around the fact that this kind of abuse has been institutionalized and protected by those government organizations that are specifically designed to protect the population, to protect the average citizen. And I understand how counterintuitive it is, because it took me some time to wrap my mind around it. It's ooh doggy, folks. Yeah, I mean, it's insidious, and it's difficult to believe that it could actually happen, especially in America. But the simple fact is that that is exactly where we are. It's no accident. It's not a fluke. Sophie and her brothers didn't fall through the cracks. This is the status quo, folks. Whoa. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, so I've been wondering about her younger brothers there. I have not heard anything about them as of yet. But I would have been extremely surprised if they had been quite frankly, if they had escaped this unscathed. And as this article states, with the younger brother telling his stepmother he tries to stay awake until dawn because they get them in the dark. Folks, this is horrible. This is horrific. No child should have to live like this. No child should have to grow up like this. And I understand kids like to say things, but I hate to break it to you, they also speak a lot of truth. And there are certain things that a kid just doesn't say unless they've experienced it in some way. That's just how it works. They get him in the dark. It's heartbreaking to say the least, and it's horrific and downright infuriating. Because this has been going on for 5 years, folks. 5 years. I don't know how old the younger brothers are. I'm assuming they're not. It seems like, yeah, it's pretty clear they were born before Michael and Kelly got divorced. So this is, oh my gosh. I can't understand the thought process behind people to put children through this. I really can't. Courtney goes on to make the statement. It's really, really hard. There's a lot of guilt. You try to think if there was a sign you could have seen sooner, if they were telling you in some other way. The simple fact is, even if they had given them some sort of sign, if they had known, folks, it's taken them 5 years to get to this point for Michael to finally get full custody of his children. There's no way around it. I mean, this is gonna drag on for years before the right thing is finally done. And it's because it's institutionalized. She goes on to state, it felt just awful to hear what she said, and you feel disgusted all the time, especially with everybody telling you right and left that it shouldn't be this hard to remove a child from an abusive situation. If you watch my previous videos, you know that I made this exact argument. It should not be this difficult, folks. It did not used to be this difficult. A parent had control over their child. They had authority over their child, especially being the father. The father used to be the head of the household, the primary authority figure. I know there is a certain agenda out there, the feminist equality agenda, the anti-patriarchy agenda. They love to point the finger at the patriarchy, how bad it is, how evil it is, the big bad boogeyman. I'm telling you, folks, this type of stuff was not a fraction as prevalent as it is now. We live in a matriarchy. I hate to break it to you. We don't even live in a patriarchy anymore, folks. So that way, when they sit there and cry boogeyman, cry wolf, oh, the big bad patriarchy, guess what, folks? The patriarchy is already dead. We live in a matriarchy. This happens all the time. Women get the slap on the wrist. They don't go to jail for the same crimes that men are convicted of. for the same length of time, we already live in a matriarchy, folks. And this type of thing is far more prevalent than it ever was under the quote-unquote patriarchy. That's just a stone cold fact. It used to be where families took care of families. Families took care of their business. If this type of stuff happened, the families took care of it. Now, everything's in the hands of the government, and the government is institutionalized to protect this kind of thing and to perpetuate it. I know a lot of people don't want to believe it, but I will continue saying it until I no longer have a platform to speak from. I will continue to speak into the void for as long as I can. And here she goes on to say, I just don't understand why everybody just keeps throwing them back to the wolves. Because this level of child abuse has been institutionalized. It is hidden from the public and it is protected. We have a legal system here in America. It is ingrained. Those who are accused have the right to face their accuser in open court. They have a right to have this stuff put out into the public square for everybody to see. However, for the sake of the children, this stuff is hidden. That is a fallacy. That is smoke and mirrors, folks. The real purpose behind it is to hide how widespread this stuff is, just how much damage is being done, and to protect those that are perpetuating it. That is the true agenda here, folks. And I will keep saying it in the hopes and prayer that people finally wake up to it. I started this channel with the goal to have some fun, to just get in that gaming, entertainment, pop culture thing and everything, and just have fun with it. And then stuff like this, it literally blows up. It started with cuties, and it's just the rabbit hole keeps going deeper and deeper. I can't not speak up about it. It's terrible. When I started this particular channel, I had no idea it was going to take this direction. I had no idea. Here we go. Michael says Kelly was initially given full custody because she hired a lawyer and he did not, leading to him being granted only intermittent episodes of supervised access to the children. Good people don't think that they need to fight that hard for justice. There's always that argument, well, if you have nothing to hide, if you're not doing anything wrong, why do you need privacy? Why do you... This is why here, folks. Because no matter how well written the Constitution and Bill of Rights is, the government is always going to be infiltrated by people that want to take away your rights. They will make up excuses. My father's in prison for no reason. He committed no crime. The accusations against him did not break any laws. And that's besides the fact that the accusation was a bald-faced lie. And it was easily proven, folks. And yet he's been in prison for almost 8 years. I am speaking from personal experience. The Constitution matters. The Bill of Rights matters. Your rights matter. And I hate to say it, but Michael put too much faith in the system. And I'm not blaming him for it. I'm not tearing him down. From what I've seen from the videos and whatnot, he's a great father, loves his children. The system is institutionalized to take advantage of people like Michael. And that's just the stone cold truth of it. I hate to say it breaks my heart that he had to learn this the hard way. It really does. But his wife knew the system. His wife knew the game. She knew the score. And she got herself an attorney from the beginning. And she gained full custody of their children. And you see what happened. You see the results of that. It breaks my heart. People have to wake up to what's going on, folks. People have to wake up to this. In 2016, his then girlfriend and now wife Courtney, they began battling for shared custody. Both say they faced legal obstacles every step of the way and claim that Child Protective Services failed to act on their claims. This is not a surprise, folks. CPS is not there to protect the children, folks. I do believe that after these November elections are over, a lot of stuff is going to be revealed to the general public. Irrefutable proof of stuff that's been going on. When I make these videos and I make these claims, I'm not making them in a vacuum. I've been watching this stuff, researching this stuff for a very long time, folks. And everything is pointing to the probability that this house of cards really will be burned to ash sooner than anybody realizes. And I'm praying for that. I'm praying that my analysis is accurate. They also say they were forced into posting the viral video after exhausting every avenue they tried in a bid to be heard. After 5 years of fighting. And then they were forced to take these extreme measures. Quite frankly, this type of thing needs to be in the public square from day one. Plain and simple. I know the arguments. They're all what ifs. This might, quote unquote, research. Folks, I hate to break it to you, but psychology is not science. It is not a valid scientific discipline. It is literally a bunch of people presenting their opinions, using their imagination with very little empirical anything to back it up. It is literally fiction, folks. Just as 1984 is fiction. Just as the Chronicles of Narnia is fiction. Just as Stephen King is fiction. And the simple fact is, we live in a land governed by laws, by the Constitution, with a justice system. In that system, the accused has the right to face their accuser in open court. That means no gag orders. Nothing is hidden. It is all out there in the public square for everybody to see. Plain and simple. That is a stone cold fact. That is what our justice system is based on. And it has been twisted and corrupted into something else completely. This stuff is hidden for the sake of the children. Well, guess what? There was a dude in Germany 70 years ago at this point. Wow, I can't believe it's been that long. It was a long time ago at this point, folks. A dude in Germany. He did a lot of bad things, and it started off for the sake of the children. He used the children as a weapon to steal the rights of the German citizens in order to make it possible for him to do the horrific things that he did. History does repeat, folks. It really does. The children are being used to subvert our justice system with the goal to continue hurting them even further. And I'm hoping and praying that people that are monitoring the situation are finally starting to understand this. The legal system failed us miserably. I knew the only way to protect Sophie was to record everything. That is a stone cold fact. Used to be a time you go to court, put your hand on a Bible, you swear to God that you will tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. Nowadays, you have to record everything because otherwise you get no chance. And that's not how it used to be. There used to be real justice in the country. Might not have been 100% uniform because human beings will be human beings, but there was real justice. Justice is pretty much dead at this point, folks. It really is. And I'm speaking from personal experience. If it wasn't for the video recordings, this probably never would have gotten the public spotlight because this happens more often than you can possibly imagine. I realized when we were completely broke, we spent everything we had. So you know what? If no one else is going to speak for Sophie, I'll let her speak for herself. So I released it and we'll let the world decide. This is exactly what I'm talking about here, folks. As long as they followed the system, the institutionalized protection and cover-up and perpetuation of child abuse, they stood no chance. He was never going to get custody of his children, even when there was clear evidence of horrific abuse. It wasn't until he took his situation regarding his family and his children and presented it to the public square. It wasn't until that moment that he had any chance of winning. And as we have seen, he has gained full custody of his children, and he stands a much, much, much greater chance of winning this for himself and for his children. This is exactly what I'm talking about, folks. This stuff cannot be hidden, not for the sake of the children. Children are extremely resilient. Whatever trauma she's going to have to work through, it is a direct result of the physical actions that were taken against her. Being put into the public spotlight like that is not going to harm this child any more than she has already been harmed. Yes, it is preferable to keep children out of the limelight in such matters. However, the stone cold reality is that this stuff needs to be talked about and it needs to be shared with the world. It is the only way to get the full grasp of it. It is the only way for society to become righteously enraged and take action. Otherwise, it is hidden swept under the rug, and is perpetuated for decades. What we are witnessing here is generational, folks. This is not an isolated incident that took place in a vacuum. This has been going on for decades. Generation after generation after generation of families passed down this behavior, this abuse. And the only way to stop it is to talk about it. It's to share it with the world, as Michael himself has stated. And here we have it, folks. She was questioned by medics and forensic interviewers, and now has medical notes that read sexual abuse suspected. And there we have it. This is not alleged, folks. This is not alleged.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
She's been abused. There's physical evidence. There is video evidence of her behavior completely out of line with a normal child. And that includes spoiled children throwing temper tantrums. Her behavior is night and day. The difference between her and just a normal spoiled child. Completely different. Courtney goes on to state that the change in Sophie began in 2017, which is so a pretty good chance she's been suffering this for at least 3 years. So here's the agreement that was agreed upon by all parties in that one video. The agreement that had been sent over was that we'd stay in the car, her grandma would come over, and Sophie would make the transition. What happened was I unlocked the car, her grandma showed up, and it looked like an abduction in the back of my car. Thank God I was filming. But this is the most helpless feeling I've ever felt in my life. My daughter was screaming for her life, and that is an accurate description if you've seen the videos for yourself. Well, I was holding a camera, and that's all I could do, folks. There's a very serious problem, folks, when a father has to stand by and watch his daughter screaming in horror for her life, and he is legally forced to stand by and do nothing. There is a serious problem here, folks. Very, very serious. And it's been going on for decades. This problem is not new. It did not pop up overnight. It was not cultivated in a vacuum. This stuff has been institutionalized over the passing of several decades. And I'm praying to God that people wake up to it, because it will continue. Our children will continue to be abused and destroyed until people open their eyes. It is not enough to be outraged over what's happening to Sophie. It must be a catalyst for people to wake up to the institutionalization of this child abuse. It is the only way that stuff like this will come to an end as much as is humanly possible. As uncomfortable as it is to talk about it, as horrific as it is to dive into these situations, it must be done. Those are conversations that must be had. These are realizations that people have to accept. It is the only chance we have of ending this, folks. And Michael says it in his own words. This world is broken if that's all a father can do to protect his daughter. I'm having to film my daughter getting assaulted in the back of my own vehicle. And if I do anything wrong, my parental rights are going to be gone. Physically protecting his child is considered wrong in the eyes of the law, folks. And that should raise some very disturbing questions in your mind. Wow. Yeah, this is folks, this stuff's been going on for a long time. Kelly did not come up with this stuff on her own. She's been taught these things. Other people with experience shared these things with her. They taught her how to fight Michael in order to not only maintain possession of their children, but to cover up what was being done to them. Kelly then took out a restraining order that prevented Michael and Courtney from even FaceTiming the children. It's a tactic as old as time. I've witnessed it with ex-girlfriends in situations with other men. We're talking about full-grown women, and it happens here too with parents and children. This is an example of what I'm talking about. Kelly very clearly tried to cut off all contact with the father, because the more contact the father has, the more likely the truth is going to come out. And these people, make no mistake, folks, these people are desperate to keep their secrets. They will go to any lengths. Because there used to be a time when stuff like this was handled very publicly and very definitively. They know what will happen if the full scope of this institutionalized child abuse becomes public knowledge. And they are desperate to keep that from happening. At this point, there's so much evidence that justice isn't served. It tells me the system is completely collapsed and there is no justice for children in the United States, folks. I'm telling you today, this is what's happening to Sophie has been horrible, horrific beyond words. But you got to understand something, folks. This is not an isolated incident. Stuff like this is happening across the country on a daily basis, not just to children, but to adults as well. Full-grown men and women. My dad is the perfect example. Innocent, found guilty of a made-up crime, sentenced to prison. They tried to end his life, folks. The prosecution initially went for 144 years over nothing. Literally nothing. And we were fortunate to get it down to the point where he will make it out alive. Justice is already dead in this country, folks. At best, it's on life support, where the machines are keeping it alive. What is happening to Sophie is simply the finer point on a bigger problem. It's very unfortunate that people are less willing to face the truth if it's happening to an adult, and that it has to happen to children before they finally open their eyes and take action. It is just a sad truth of the world. I hate to say it. And now that it's happening to Sophie and it's been made public knowledge, hopefully praying that it will be a catalyst to people opening their eyes to a bigger picture and to our justice system being resuscitated back to full life. It's heartbreaking that this has to happen, folks. On the bright side, she is back with her father, her and her brothers, and he has full custody of them. So that is wonderful news. That is great news. Praying for all of them. I'm praying that he gets the victory on this, the big victory, and that the mother is brought to justice, along with every single other person that is involved in this heinous crime. And with that said, I'm hoping that people wake up to the full reality of this institutionalized child abuse and the subversion of our entire justice system. Hopefully there will be more good news to come. And with that said, I want to thank you for watching. This has been another Rebel Rant, speaking into the void.
Can't stop the signal now.